me, but I'm saying that's what women are. That's the pushback that women are saying. Like, it doesn't matter what I do. Like, I should still be treated with respect. You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, of course. But I think it probably would be the same thing for women. I mean, for men. Like, that's almost like saying just because I have all gold teeth top and bottom with multiple chains and my pants sagging, don't you think I'm a thug? You know, and it's just like, well, we don't know. Or don't you think I'm out here on the street? So I think perception, implicit bias, all of that stuff, like, we automatically come with it. And it's just, that's just the reality of it. So it's carry the way that you want to be seen or carry the way that you want to be treated. But at the end of the day, your appearance can sometimes teach people how to treat you, or, you know, until they have a conversation with you, then they're going to, you know, that also teaches them how to treat you. But if a person judging a book by its cover, we already know, like, we learned that in like second grade. Like,
yeah. And dare I say, in this space, when we are talking about social justice, right? In this current climate, when we're talking about social justice, and we're talking about protect Black women, and we're talking about trust Black women, and we're talking about locking up the race soldiers that murdered Breonna Taylor, and we're talking about Kamala Harris, who is the first ever she's the VP nominee for the Democratic Party. We'll get to Kamala, but is this the right song for this time in this moment? Because it's like Black men and women are trying to uplift, because of Sandra, we're trying to uplift the image of Black women, and stuff like that. And then we got a jam that's number one. Talk about there's some hoes in this house. Huh?
How about the music that Black men are making? It goes both ways.
I don't like that argument. We talk about WAP right now.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're gonna talk about one, talk about all. Y'all
but guess what?
If that song wasn't as hype as it is, y'all really wouldn't be mad right now.
No. Do you think I dislike the video?
Listen.
Do you really think that I sat up there and said, this is disgusting. I can't believe this you really think I watched that video like that?
He was just like that. Look at that video. Look how close
I was like this. There was some chips. I didn't listen to that shit. I was not watching it like that. You think I was offended? No, I'm not offended.
But I'm saying that's what women are. That's the pushback that women are.
Hey, welcome.
But usually we just go like on Facebook, and I was just like,
I'm your host, TJ Legacy, and we are joined by the best co-host host can ever ask for. Shout out to my people, my fam. What's going on? I'm gonna start with all Instagram live over there. Just Giovanni, what's up, Just Giovanni? What's going on, Jay?
Hey y'all, what's up? Ooh, not much going on, but October is definitely bringing that weight, that heat. I mean, like October is a month. I will say that.
Damn, I got flies. I'm over here like swell it over there with the flies in my place. But yo, what's up? My man 50 Grand, what's going on all the way from NYC, Jersey, all that good stuff. Stand up. What's up, Alan York? What's good?
Yo, what's the word, man? What's the word? I'm glad to be back. I missed y'all. It's been 2 weeks. Feels so much longer than 2 weeks when you ain't been on the Soapboxx in 2 weeks. So I'm glad to see y'all. I wanted to shout out the silkiness that Giovanni has going on under the hair. Big bundles in the building, you know. So shout out to Giovanni and a whole lot. TJ, how you feeling, man? Kicking it back down to you, man. How you feeling? How's everything been for you?
Yo, man, feeling good, feeling great. Your man is now 35 after having a birthday on Tuesday. It was a blessed birthday spent with family and loved ones, and got a lot of time to reflect. And, one of the big things that I had to reflect on was unanswered prayers, right? Because some of the things that I am going through and experiencing in my life wouldn't have happened if I got what I actually prayed for years ago of what I wanted. And so right now it's so much better. Life is good. Life is grand. But always we are appreciative of Soapboxx Nation. We want to make sure that you guys follow us, Soapboxx Podcast. That's Soapboxx Podcast with 2X. We appreciate y'all. And I had a good weekend. Listen, over the weekend, I actually went and saw the play Hamilton. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Hamilton is over, if it's a play on Disney Plus.
Okay.
Lin-Manuel Miranda, he actually created In the Heights. He also did Hamilton. It's like a hip opera, right? Of Alexander Hamilton and his story and his comeuppance in American history. It's actually really dope. Went with my lady to Jacksonville. Shout out to her to Jacksonville to see this play as an early birthday gift. And it was actually really dope. One of the actresses wasn't that great, but the play of itself, we kind of got a chuckle out of it. But the play of itself was really dope. So, what did y'all end up doing this weekend?
So before we get that, because I do have a question. Well, one, TJ, I know that previously that you said you had seen it on Disney Plus and you really enjoyed it. But two, and this could just be my ignorance when it comes to plays, I'm assuming that because they have it running here in New York.
It's different people.
Okay, so it's different cast. Like, do they have I always wonder how training worked with that. Did everyone just train with the same head person, and then they banish them to the destinations?
Yeah, it's the same play, right? Same script and everything. So, but the actors and stuff are the same. The good thing about Hamilton, though, is that you have a diverse cast. So Hamilton was actually played on the Disney Plus series by Lin-Manuel Miranda, right? Mm-hmm. And he's Puerto Rican, I believe. Yeah, he's Puerto Rican, right? Okay. And so you have characters called the Schuyler sisters. They're actually played by, a white girl, a white woman, a Hispanic, and also someone who's Black. So it's they mix up the races of all the characters. Okay. So, even though historically they're all white. You see what I'm saying? So it was his way of kind of making sure that he had a diverse crowd. So basically the woman who played Eliza in the play that I saw in Jacksonville, she was actually Asian. And the person who played George Washington was actually Asian. And nobody really thought of anything of it, right? So, and they were actually, Eliza wasn't that great, but the dude who played George Washington was actually kind of fire. And so then they kind of mix it up, but it's the same. So, they take a different spin on what the original cast did, in the Disney Plus series that they did on Broadway when it was going down. So this has been a year, years in the making. So it's actually really, really, it was really good. I encourage anyone. I still think there's shows in Jacksonville. If you can catch a show, it's a dope date night. Get nice and dressed up and take your lady or take your man to go see Hamilton and get some culture, man. It was some culture, some history. And there's a lot of influences from, because he's from New York. He's actually from the Heights. So there's a lot of influences from Biggie and a lot of influences from 90s hip hop in the play. So, some of the cadences and some of the rap, you're like, oh, okay, I heard that. Oh, I know where he got that from. If you're a hip hop enthusiast like he is. So it's really, I would recommend anybody to go see it. Are you into plays, Giovanni?
I saw it.
You saw it? You saw what, Hamilton?
I did, live? But I need to watch it again. No, not live. I saw it. I guess whenever it came available on
Disney
TV.
Plus. Yeah.
Disney.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know if ladies are still into that, into plays and stuff. I know when I was younger, they used to take us on a field trip to go see the Nutcracker every year. So I've seen the Nutcracker almost 6 or 7 times, through grade school, because that was the thing in Boston where they took us to. But I don't know. I think it's definitely a different change of pace to go to. I'm a museum theater type of person, so I don't know in the dating bracket of our age group, if that's really still a thing. It's a different change of pace than just kind of going to the club or going to a lounge and just drinking and turning up. You know, sometimes you need a low key. Maybe
that's me. Great. That's me all day. Let's do something different. But I like to turn up too, you know, when it's time. But
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Did y'all see? Go ahead. Hey. You were saying something?
No, I was saying.
Okay. Well, after the Hamilton, right? So we went and actually, you know, shout out to somebody who, you know, I'm not gonna tell you how I watched it, but I didn't pay for it. But hey, I watched the Wilder and Fury fight. Did y'all catch this fight? Deontay Wilder.
I did.
And Tyson Fury. They had their fight for the third time. First time it was a draw between both men. Second time, Deontay Wilder got knocked out. Well, Deontay Wilder got a TKO, technical knockout. And this time it was actually a really good fight. So did y'all catch it or not?
I was able to catch the fight. I was able to make sure. I mean, I had to work that night, so I knew a couple people that was like throwing little shindigs, but I couldn't attend. But I made sure I had it up while I was working. So I definitely made it a point to watch that fight for sure.
Word. You didn't watch it?
I missed that one. And I like fight.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Someone's getting a little groove on.
Okay, Alan, new single drop.
Yeah. Alan got the booming playlist still
nah,
rocking.
I have 17 tabs up because, you know, I was doing my journalistic due diligence for the night.
Yeah.
And my computer just has a mind of its own. So don't mind me. Giovanni, what were you saying?
You know what that sounds like? Giovanni, remember back in the day when people didn't have like, you used to play the music before you left a voice message made a voice message like, yo, you reach Alan. You know,
little ambiance.
Exactly, that's what that sounds like.
A little ambiance, yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
but no,
sorry,
even if you didn't watch the fight. So here's the thing, right? It's so funny that when you have Deontay Wilder, who is the American fighter, and Tyson Fury, who is the British fighter, but fighting and boxing always goes down racial lines, right? It's always people, you know, you got white folks who, even though, like, for instance, Conor McGregor fought Floyd Mayweather, and he's as Irish from Ireland and Irish as can be, but everybody was going for Conor McGregor, and Mayweather is the American fighter, and for some reason, you know, they don't go for the black. They always seem to not go for the black American fighter. And so the aftermath of the fight is something I wanted to briefly talk about, right? Because it seems like, because even though it was a good fight, Tyson Fury, you know, fought back after being knocked down twice and then ended up knocking out Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder got a lot of punching power, but, you know, Tyson Fury is a more skilled boxer than he is. Tyson Fury just got knockout power. But, you know, we knocked Fury down and Fury was able to get right back up. But my thing is that I always think that these fights are always a proxy for, you know, white society against black folks, right? Because that's one of the reasons why Ali was so hated back in the day, right? And why people go to watch Floyd Mayweather fights. So they pay for Floyd Mayweather fights, and why they can't stand Floyd Mayweather, because they're like, this loud, brash talking, you know, black man is, you know, people want to see you lose, right? That's the draw, right? And Mayweather definitely plays up to that, of wanting to see someone lose. And I feel like a lot of times, where especially after the memes and the commentary after the fight, it was like people were living vicariously through Tyson Fury and beating Deontay Wilder, right? Because it's like, here you have Tyson Fury, who's not as in shape, who is not on some like you know, doesn't have Deontay Wilder is unapologetically black, right? And so for him to be the butt of everybody's jokes after he lost the fight, and it was a good fight, then, you know, it kind of spoke to the society as like, oh, wait a minute. So you won't go for the American fighter, and then afterwards we are dogging Deontay Wilder from going 11 rounds in a 12-round fight and getting knocked out. So I don't know. Do y'all notice that a lot? Where we see in sports how racial lines are always divided.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think with this one it was a lot less. Like for like McGregor and Mayweather, yeah. I mean, people always have loved and wanted to see Mayweather finally lose, and they haven't had that satisfaction. And then McGregor played into it by even like making little racial epithets in regards to like, dance for me, little monkey, stuff like that. I think this heavyweight rivalry has been, it's been so, I mean, technically not by decision, but it's been somewhat even and enough to where last time Wilder got it real bad, but that's because he was playing up to it, because when he came out with the Black Panther and it was Black History Month, so he was playing up to, of course, his people, us, right? And then so when he did get knocked out like that, I think naturally it was kind of people kind of throwing that back in his face. This time around, after the decision, for me, I didn't really see it being so, at least so blatant. And I think that's because a lot of people felt going into this fight after seeing however many rounds we saw before that, just Wilder was the better boxer, just period. So I don't think a lot of people were shocked by this. So I didn't see it as stark this time around, but I do definitely think that boxing, almost probably more than any other sport, is kind of a microcosm of, I want to see the quote unquote flashy guy. And then, Wilder does kind of embody that, not necessarily flash, but his style, right? That's kind of always been the knock on Black athletes, not even just in boxing, in other sports. We see it with quarterbacking. We say, Wilder, he's all athleticism, but he's not skilled, he's not technical. But as much as we can say that that's incorrect about a lot of people, I think in this case it is kind of accurate, and Wilder just kind of really took it to him. And, I think a lot of the things that people are saying in regards to the matchup is kind of accurate in regards to just Fury being a better boxer. But I definitely see where you're coming from as well. Just historically, I think this one, just because of how deep we are in the rivalry, more so boxing enthusiasts are kind of gravitated toward it and had more of a level-headed view of things, in my opinion.
Well,
no doubt.
What's who are two boxers that you would like to see in the ring together soon?
I don't know.
That is a good question.
What's the matchup that hasn't happened yet?
The matchup
because boxing has been so down lately. I think Tyson Fury and Wilder was a big fight. I know Anthony Joshua, I think his name was supposed to be the next big fight. And then he ended up losing to a dude who looked like a mechanic, and so his stock went down. And then so I don't know if there's a big money fight. I do want to go see now adversity, right? When we talk about the race and the sports, right? I want to see like those Jake Paul and Logan Paul. I want to see them get knocked out. Like I wouldn't mind seeing.
I want to see them get knocked out. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Deontay Wilder be like, all right, I'll do it for the check, and I'll fight, Jake Paul or whatever in a fight, and then watch him, knock him out, because they keep fighting UFC fighters and who are past their prime, and clearly the fights are fixed, right? But I would love to see, Deontay Wilder go in there and just knock one of them smooth out, just for just for shits and giggles. So that would be the fight that I would see. As far as legitimate boxers, I don't know if there's a big money fight for a legitimate boxer right now.
I think they're getting. I think the lighter weights are coming in. The Gervonta, the Tank Davis he's on a tear right now. So it's like whoever wants to kind of move up, or if he wants to move up, whoever his next fight is going to be pretty good. Anthony Joshua and Wilder is something that should have happened probably 2 years ago, because not only did Joshua lose to the guy who looks like the mechanic, he also just lost a month ago or so. So it's like, in the process of rebuilding his name to get to that pinnacle, he's doing more harm than good. I think Tyson Fury made a joke that, and he probably wasn't even joking, because he, like I said, Joshua was working himself back into the heavyweight ranks, and obviously Fury would have to be the guy to go against. But at this point, Fury is like, I'll train him if anything, because I think they're both English. So he's like, yeah, I'll train him if anything, because Anthony Joshua has just kind of fallen that much in the rankings. But we'll see. But definitely looking at the lighter weighted divisions, Tank Davis, Gervonta, he's the big money right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, but shout out to I got to give a shout out, real quick shout out. Shout out to the white supremacists who make fake profiles to comment on our YouTube channel and make racist comments, because we're talking about, you got 4 independent black journalists talking news. Please continue, because all we're going to do is just block you and just, it's all good. But we want that smoke. So even if you hate watching, please understand that hate watching still increases. It still increases the algorithm. So thank you for tuning in to the Soapboxx podcast. We love it.
I wanted to say something.
Go ahead, Jay.
For the Logans, like deep down inside, I just want to also ask you all, because Alan, you didn't say whether you wanted to see them fight again or not, and then I had to kind of go back and question myself, like, why do I really want to see them get knocked out? Because honestly, I think it's 2 things to it, because one, it is cool to see like a somebody in a completely different field that feels confident enough to go and try something else and make money off of it. And I don't know if that's just playing off of the money that they already have, or does it have anything to do with their race? But can y'all kind of break down to me, like, how are they able to even have these fights? Like, what are they
just being privileged? They got a pocket full of they're just privileged influencers. I don't really know what they're famous for. I think Logan Paul, one of them fought Floyd. Floyd was kind of doing a little pitter patter with him. But it's just privilege. It's just and a lot of it is they have marketing behind them. Like, people want to see. They just seem to me, they just look like privileged white boys that people want to see get knocked out, and they're capitalizing on that. So they're flashy and they act like cultural appropriators with the yo and all sorts of stuff. So they get under your skin and like, I really want to see them get knocked out, and then they start paying these black athletes, whether UFC fighters or whatever, to come into the ring. So everybody's like, they're gonna knock them out. And then the fight, you look at the fight, you're just like, allegedly this looks like it's fixed. You see what I'm saying? So now people want to pay more money to see the next person come out, because they feel like, okay, the next person. So like, they got the hook. So that's all it is. They have a promotion, and when you have influencers or you have marketing, people are going to, put money behind you.
Yeah, I mean, you can do anything with an audience. So from my understanding, these 2, or at least one of them, were just like really big YouTubers. And I don't want to say, and I try not to because I don't know anything about YouTube and influencers. So I try not to disparage what they may have not done, because that's just a world I'm not familiar with. But I know that they had a huge enough audience to where just them talking about it initially, it drew enough attention to where they were going to garner income. And if you have enough of a fan base, no matter what you do, if you can cross brand and cross promote from one arena to the next, celebrity fighting has been around forever. Like MTV used to do it. It's just that, it's just kind of elevated a little bit more now. And it's like, especially when you're a YouTuber, because you already have trained your audience to stream something. So it's easier to translate whatever your audience is to do something else just on a different platform. So, I don't really have any desire to see them fight, but honestly, it's this, to be completely honest, people want to see them fight for the same reason, and see them fight for the same reason that people see the majority of boxers fight, because a lot of people aren't really into boxing. They're not technical boxing fans. It's an event, right? So you throw an event at somebody with enough hype, and they're gonna watch it. And a lot of times it's really not as deep as that. Like they're there for the entertainment as opposed to the technical skill. So and they're just capitalizing. They're just figures in that entertainment industry. So I don't necessarily have a dog in that fight, nor do I care to see them fight anybody. It doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. But Giovanni, let's talk about Mr. Dave Chappelle. You got Dave Chappelle and the backlash that he has received. What's going on with Dave?
Well, Dave Chappelle, and Noble just took my tablet, y'all.
With your notes?
with all of my notes. Okay, so forgive that I do not know the name of Dave Chappelle's special.
The Closer.
Yeah.
Okay, the closer. Okay. But I did watch it. And to be honest, I cracked up the whole time. Like I was crying, laughing, like this man. And I love Dave Chappelle, so I could be a little biased. I love the fact that he likes to incorporate real life scenarios into his comedy, and he's kind of like this guy where he brings or he sheds light to social injustice and disparities in the Black communities, and he knows that he has this huge audience of different types of people and cultures and different types of things, and he uses that to his advantage. But anyway, so a lot of people in the LGBTQ and other communities who are advocates for LGBTQ members are they want to cancel him because of some of the things that he said in his special Closer that targets gay people, and specifically, you know what? At first, I thought it was about one comment about the friend who committed suicide, but just like going through Twitter and stuff, it's really just like over the years they're just saying like, Dave Chappelle, you've always tried to attack gay people, and this one just really took us to a whole nother level. And I know people were saying that he's punching down on women and
the trans community.
Transgender, right? And transgenders, and he disagrees. He disagrees. Netflix, they're saying they're not going to take anything down. And do we have any clips?
No, as far as, because I did not want this video to be taken down because we violated any Netflix copyrights. But there was definitely a lot of backlash for the LGBTQ community. Also, there were some people from Netflix who were supporters of trans and transgender people in the transgender community that said that they were going to resign. I think a Jacqueline Moore, who was a show writer, she's a transgender person, and she decided, she was like, hey, I'm going to resign or I can't work for Netflix because of Dave Chappelle's special on Netflix. And she's actually the showrunner for Dear White People, which is a Black show. It's a show based upon articulating the Black experience. So that backfired, where people were like, wait a minute, why are you, who's clearly a white person, why are you, a showrunner? That shows your privilege. Why are you a showrunner for the Black experience on a show on Netflix? So, like you said, Netflix is something they're gonna stick beside. They're gonna stick beside him. They're gonna stay by Dave Chappelle. And so my question, I'm gonna toss it to you before I give my real 2 cents. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, before you go, Alan, TJ, I guess my question is, and this is a question that I feel like we in America we have to continuously ask this question, is like, what is considered going too far? Because everybody is so sensitive to certain different, so many different things. Like you can, for an example, we have we had some riots after George Floyd, and then okay, they're like, okay, well, we're going to pass legislation to crack down on riots.
Yeah.
And so we have one side where people are saying you went too far with those riots, even though, you know, you're trying to get justice for George Floyd. And then you have the other side, Black Lives Matter groups, who are saying, all right, lawmakers, you're going too far. This is against our constitutional rights. And I kind of feel like there's always this imbalance of what is considered going too far and who's to say what's too far. Because, I mean, if we all have different point of views, how do we really categorize what going too far is, other than when you are actually physically harming somebody? Now, we know if you put a knee on somebody's neck, that's going too far.
Yeah.
But in communication, you know, what is considered going too far if it's hurting someone's feelings? And I think that's the disconnect, because Dave Chappelle feels like, I'm not going too far. Like, I haven't even touched the surface of going too far. And then the, you know, LGBTQ community is like, you took it there. You went too far. So that's my question. Like, how do you all see it? Like, you know, how do you know if you're going too far? If you hurt one person, or is it if you hurt 50 people, you're going too far? Or, you know, if you're a multimillionaire, if you offend 500 plus people, then you've gone too far. If you're just a social media person with 5 followers and one person is offended, is that still considered going too far?
Yeah.
So that was just my question. Like, how do you know if you've gone too far?
I think in the comedic space, right? Because when you're talking about someone who's in corporate America and you're at a job and you're saying some of the things that Dave Chappelle says, then there's HR department, you're going too far because you're being offensive in a corporate America sense. I think it all depends on the context of where you are. We'll talk about Jon Gruden and his reason that's to resign. And that's why this episode is called The Herd. It's like anytime you stray away from the herd, or this idea of groupthink in our society at this point, then you are either ostracized or demonized for your point of view. As a comedian, right? Dave Chappelle has had skits where he has played a slave. Dave Chappelle has had skits where he's played in his show, The Dave Chappelle Show. He's made fun of black celebrities, artists, crack cocaine. He's been Tyrone Biggums. He's been Little John. He's had the most offensive type of skits towards African Americans. And we've all took it as, oh man, these was jokes, right? And we took it on the chin. We didn't have any of no NAACP or any of these organizations didn't come out and draft a statement to say we should cancel Dave Chappelle and how dare he, say these things, whatever, because we knew, whether it was women, whether it was black folks, whether it's black families, whether it was comedy, that, hey, when you're a comedian, everybody is fair game, right? And so for a community that is talking about being inclusive and equality, it's like, you are not above reproach. You are not above getting some of this, not criticism, but you are not above being the butt of someone's jokes. The problem, I think, with the Dave Chappelle, or what I think the issue was that's triggering to the LGBTQ community, is that Dave Chappelle called out the racism within the white LGBT community, and they didn't like it. That is supposed to be taboo. How dare you, black heterosexual figure, talk about the LGBTQ and put the mirror on us, right? Because what Dave Chappelle said in his comedy, and I'm not trying to give away all the jokes to those who haven't seen it, is he talked about how he's jealous. Like, wait, the white LGBT community has an infrastructure that if something like this, if they were to be offended or somebody was to be violated in their community, or we're talking about passing laws and legislation, they have a structure where they have an army of folks that will protect them, right? And so, but when it comes to black folks, we don't have that same protection, right? Like, you can kill, like, that's when we talked about the correlation between the baby and talking about whether or not a person in the LGBTQ community is offended. Like, you can do certain things to the LGBT community, and now you can do certain things to the LGBT community, and and you can immediately lose your livelihood. You could be canceled, right? Hold on 1 second. I think I messed up. You could be canceled and lose your livelihood, and that.
Well, black people.
Yeah, that's so we have trolls or whatever. They don't worry about them. They're helping our algorithm. So we gotta thank them for the views and the algorithm and the followers. So it's all good.
But and that's the thing. So Facebook, y'all don't catch that name because that looked like somebody's Facebook name.
That's YouTube.
It's YouTube. So
that was YouTube. Okay.
It's YouTube. So I think I mistakenly blocked somebody because I thought they were whatchamacallit. It's all good. It's all good. Hey, sorry about that. I appreciate you, live music lover. I mistakenly blocked you, bro. So I'm gonna try to get you back on. You be watching the Soapboxx because I was blocking the other person and I hit the wrong button. But yeah, so that was what I was saying is that it's talk about the infrastructure of the LGBT community and talking about whether or not when we go through things in the African American community, are y'all really out there riding for us like we do for you for other communities? And that's what the whole argument of the whole of intersectionality stops, where people are like, wait a minute, there's no intersectionality. It's not the treatment and how Black folks ride for other community is not reciprocated to us. We don't get the same protections under the laws. We don't get the same outrage when things happen to us. But when things happen to members of the LGBT community, then all of a sudden, people are losing their jobs, people are canceled, all that good stuff.
Yeah, and I think right before Alan, before you talk, I just think that at this point, y'all, other races, they cannot hold that weight of feeling like our thing is we're going to be Black no matter what, no matter if we're gay, straight, no matter what, we will be Black. And I do think that other races have realized that, and even people in the LGBTQ community, they know that, they can be. How can I can't really. Okay, Dave Chappelle, he mentioned it a little bit in his act that I guess he was with a group of people and they were gay, but when the cops came, they were white. That's it. They were
basically they could switch up being a minority based upon the circumstances that they're in. Correct.
Right. Exactly. But that has nothing to do with them. That has everything to do with society and how America is built. I'm pretty sure I know if they don't want to say like, yeah, hey, I'm gonna pick a fight and I'm Black or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, I mean, we are the ones who just have to be like, it is what it is. I just kind of feel like it's something that I'm just not even going to try and be upset about or try and convince a community that they are not as suppressed as I am, because it's obvious and it's proven facts. Now, why is the recognition different, and why are things moving faster for certain groups of people than others? Like my exact sentiment right there, my look. That's how I feel about it. It's just like, I don't know. Like we don't have an answer, but I'm glad that he's just letting people know in case they forgot.
Yeah, absolutely. Alan, what do you think, man? What's your thoughts on this on the special?
So a couple things here. So I watched the special twice. To answer Giovanni's question first, stating that how far is too far, I don't think I'll ever be qualified to answer that question because I'm not the quote unquote target here, right? So even to piggyback off what TJ was saying in regards to all of the satire that Dave has done over the years in regards to Black people, it never felt too far for the majority of the community because, well, one, he's Black, and to be honest, that if you are quote unquote making fun of and making jokes on a community that you are part of, you do have to take that with a grain of salt, right? So, and two, his audience never felt that way. So, when we're on the flip side now, if we're talking about the LGBT community, it's a community that he's not a part of. It's a community that I'm not a part of. So I don't think he gets to draw that line of what's too far. Right. So I don't think any of us is qualified to say what is too far and what's not too far. Now I do think that.
But don't you think that's tribalism a little bit?
Wait,
yeah, I mean, yeah, and there's nothing wrong with tribalism. We ask for that, right? We say, I mean, I don't have a problem with tribalism, to be honest with you. I think this the same way that everyone. I think there's a community and there's a strength in that, and some of it could be hypocritical, but that's life. So also kind of piggyback what TJ was saying in regards to him making an emphasis in regards to possibly targeting the white LGBT community. And he did kind of say this. He was like, listen, he said it plain out. Like, my issue has never been with the LGBT community. It's been with white people. Right. I think that is a point that he made in this special. I don't think that previously he has done a great job specifying that. And I'm saying that based on the conversations that I'm seeing from Black people in the LGBT community, because they feel that when they're talking about them, they're including Black LGBT community as well. It's never really felt like, outside of him having to say it, that it was just race specific. So, he's kind of lost them in regard in summing everything up. Now, I think from because I watched it a couple of times, I do think that, and there's one joke going around that I'm seeing the most posted where he was saying, the pussies that they got, it's not real pussy, it's like beet juice. That's what he was saying. And then he was saying how everyone who came into this earth had to go in between the legs of a woman, that gender is fact. I think those. But
isn't that a fact though? Like, everybody would have to be born of a woman?
I'm not here to discuss that. But what I'm saying is, I know that no, but listen, I'm just saying that the point of contention of trans community that I have seen them push back on is that gender is not a fact. I'm just saying what that has been their thing for a while now. So I know that is one of the things that probably put them across the edge, in my opinion. And so, I think he has to know that would get people kind of riled up, because they have been telling us, and when I say us, just people not a part of the community, no, I can change genders. Like, this is what they've been saying for X amount of years. And for them to keep saying that, and I'm sure, someone with as big a platform of him saying that, no, you're wrong, they feel some sort of way about it. Like I said, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying what they've been saying as opposed to what he's been saying.
Yeah, basically. Okay, go finish your last point.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And the last point I want to say is I watched it again with like a second eyes, seeing like who else caught it, right? Like, who else caught some of these jokes. And then it was like he was hitting points. Like, he was hitting the most, trying to be like almost to hit all of the quote unquote sensitive words or sensitive points. And it didn't really get this backlash. Like, he started off the special talking about COVID. Like, he talking about, he found out he had COVID, he was joking like, damn, I probably killed 100 people. I've been walking around here touching dollar bills, touching doorknobs, I've been doing everything. I probably killed a bunch of people and didn't even know it. And then he goes on to, there was like, I don't want to give too many of the jokes away. There was an Asian joke in there. That was COVID being in his body. He made a couple of Jewish jokes, like the space Jews jokes. Like, he said that 2 or 3 times, and they were like, I was like, whoa. I was like a little shocked that
he pushed the envelope. But isn't that what comedy is supposed to do? Push the envelope. Push the envelope and also make you think.
He educates and gives comedy.
But so outside of that, and then he also went into the Me Too movement. He came out and said they fucked up. They did that shit wrong. And then he was like, and then he ended with some offensive jokes. So it is a testament to see that, like, he touched on so many sensitive topics that probably would have gotten a lot more headlines had it not been for this one, for the LGBT community, who has made their voices heard the loudest in this. And
but let me ask you this: Didn't they? Yeah, it was his point. But didn't the LGBTQ community, specifically the trans community, didn't they kind of prove his point with the campaign to try to cancel him and get removed and all this other stuff, like talk about with cancel culture and stuff, which I don't really truly believe in the whole cancel culture. I believe it's about holding people accountable, but we would be naive to think that there's not a structure of people at this point in our society where if you don't have this groupthink idea that people are going to, like, they're looking for reasons to take your livelihood, specifically when you are a black male figure. Like, they're looking for a reason to take your livelihood because you say something that doesn't go against what everybody else is thinking.
Well, but listen though,
if Donald Trump can do it, Dave Chappelle can do it.
Like, I'll say a couple of things, like, because when we talk about, believe it or not, I mean, we see a lot of headlines calling for XYZ for Dave Chappelle.
Yeah,
I think in this case, I won't necessarily call it groupthink unless we're willing to admit it's multiple groups. Because there's many people that are against Dave Chappelle. There's a whole lot and a stronger and just as loud as a group that's for him. So I won't say that there's like a minority opinion and a majority opinion here. I think it's pretty.
Didn't they try to cancel Dave? They tried to cancel Denzel like a couple weeks ago. Then they tried to bring in another. Yeah, they tried to cancel. Not to veer off topic, but they tried to cancel Denzel with the Katie Couric interview, and she said they tried to use innuendos like, oh, he was so difficult. Then the girl from the actress from Grey's Anatomy, the main actress, came out and had that story where she was like, oh my goodness, he was so difficult, and I had to say, listen, motherfucker, this is my show and all some stuff. And then they received backlash. So now they try to cancel Dave Chappelle. Like, there's certain people, right? Let's be real. There's certain people in the black community we just not gonna cancel. Like, it don't matter really, and I don't want to say it don't matter what they do, but you gotta have a pretty good case, a PowerPoint presentation, and some visual aids. And you're like, we just not gonna cancel.
Yeah, well, that's another thing too.
Icons, just on some, like, it's got to be pretty egregious. Like, it's got to be like on some, like, minor sex tape egregiousness. And even then, we still got folks that's like, I still want to play that song at my wedding. That's like, it's got to be that egregious.
Let me go ahead and then just to close on the Dave Chappelle thing. Last point.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, one, in regards to the cancellation, first off, cancellation doesn't work if the people who are trying to cancel the person is not your demographic. I think that's the disconnect. Like, if you're 1% of the consumer base trying to overthrow 99%, it's not going to work. So that's why
you can't cancel what you haven't subscribed to.
Right. And then but the last thing that I was going to say in regards to all of this, I think that as much as we're having this conversation, I think Dave Chappelle is extremely aware of everything that's going on around him. And I also don't think that he's as insensitive as he may come off of. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, and I also started to kind of look at and try to break down the layers. One, the name of the special is called The Closer. Two, in the end of the special, of course, the closer is the last comedian of the night. He ties that in with the trans person opening for him and him being the closer. And then also, I think he used that name, The Closer, to close the chapter on this bickering, because I think that was something.
One more. This is his last contractual Netflix special.
Yeah, that's what I said. This is his last special.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, well, with Netflix for a while. He'll be back. But also, I think one thing that people aren't addressing, and to me, this just kind of shows that he really does want to be done with it, and he may not be meaning as much harm as he's causing, is at the very end of the special, he says, listen, at this point, I'm done with this topic, and I'm no longer going to speak on it until I feel like we are laughing together.
Yeah.
So for me, that encompasses, like, listen, yes, I have my opinions. Yes, they may not be popular, but at the end of the day, I'm not here. He kept saying, I'm not here to punch down on nobody. And I understand that this is affecting the community so much that when I'm making these jokes, we're not in it together. And they don't feel like the black community, because the black community, we was laughing with him. So now that I know that this is what's happening, I'm no longer gonna make these jokes. That's how he ended the special. Sorry, spoiler alert. But I think that takes a certain amount of maturity and just shows that he's done with it too. Like, as much as we're done talking about it, so is he. So we'll see what he does going forward.
Yeah, and he also, I did want to mention, he did also talk about his friend who is transgender,
right?
Daphne, who we talked about in his other comedy specials, who did pass away, and the impact of her on him. So so it is what it is. He's not going to cancel.
She came out in support of Chappelle. Daphne's sister came out in support of Dave Chappelle, saying that.
Well, she got it. He done put a scholarship in a trust fund in the kid's name. Yeah. So
but you know what? You know what's
make sure that paper's still rolling.
Yeah, I mean, rest in peace. I didn't really I thought it was a cool story, and I definitely believe that they had a genuine relationship. But I don't know. A really small part of me was kind of like, I have a black friend swag. Like, my best friend.
You're always cynical when it comes to that kind of stuff. I know.
Right. So you
always think somebody got an ulterior motive. Like, why you do that for?
Right. Like, I get it, but it's like when white people do it in the reverse, I pick up on that shit real quick. Like, nah, my best homie, we go back. He was black. Let me tell, fam, I'm not trying to hear about that.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
No, I feel you on that point. But listen, we talk about, like, this episode. I want to shout out to Soapboxx Nation. Let me go ahead and shout out some of these names of people that are rocking with us. Shout out to Jesse, who is with us in spirit. But shout out to Jesse. Jesse will be back next week. Don't worry about her.
Hey.
Of course, we've already shouted out the white supremacists who are making sure that our algorithm continues to increase. Shout out to you guys to making sure that we're getting more people to come and view our videos. We appreciate each and every one of you. Shout out to No Lids Creation, who's always rocking with us. Shout out to, I think Lisa was watching earlier, and shout out to Live Music Lover. Sorry for deleting that comment, my brother or sister. I'm not sure if, I don't want to misidentify you, but shout out to you for rocking with the Soapboxx Podcast. And of course, please always make sure you follow us, Soapboxx Podcast with 2X, as we are with y'all every Thursday, man. When we're not here, y'all know we're gonna try to get a Soapboxx rewind for y'all, and we appreciate each and every one of you. Yeah, okay. What's up, brethren? Cool. Yo, so let's talk about, and we talked about herd and groupthink. So there's a lot of times we have the backlash from, the LGBTQ community on Dave Chappelle. And now we have somebody who just let the chopper spray on everybody. He said, look, I'm going to offend everybody, but it was hidden and his emails came out. So Alan, please let us know what the hell is going on with head coach or former head coach Jon Gruden.
All right. So just to issue a little backstory, Jon Gruden is, or should I say was, the head coach of the Oakland Raiders. It was a wild weekend for him. Friday, a story came out in regards to an email that was sent out in regards to one of the NFL union leaders. Now, the headline, of course, Jon Gruden exposed for racist remarks in emails. The remark, to be specific, was he was saying that the union leader had lips like a Michelin tire. That's what he was stating. Now,
which is a racial trope.
So Friday that happened. He apologized. He said, he had spoken with the owner. This was the email that did go out 10 years ago. Coached the game on Sunday. Sunday night, we get new headlines. Gruden makes transphobic, homophobic, sexist, misogynist.
He had bingo.
All of the isms in these emails. So also our backstory, why do we have these emails? So essentially the Washington franchise, formerly the Washington Redskins, were under investigation because of the way that their organization was being ran. And it just so happened that Jon Gruden was emailing one of the owners. So just to kind of even more specify, because I'm a person who I know what trigger words are. So you're not going to get me with, he said the isms and the obics and what did he say? Right. So I did a little bit, and I tried to get, a little bit more context. As stated, the racist statement that he made was in regards to the union leader having Michelin tire lips. The transphobic comment, I wasn't able to get the full quote from. I don't think it's out yet, but apparently it was something about Caitlyn Jenner. Now, in regards to the homophobic comments or the anti-gay comments, there was a use of the F word, which rhymes with maggot, when he was speaking about the owner of the league. If I'm not mistaken,
you could say it in the context of the news. I've seen other news outlets reporting it. Well, he called, for those who I'll say it. And what Jon Gruden said was a homophobic slur. He called. Was it who did he call Roger Goodell, right?
Right. He called Roger Goodell.
He called Roger Goodell a pussy and a faggot. That's what.
So those are those terms.
That's what Jon Gruden's words.
Yes, Jon Gruden's words. He also, when mentioning one of the Glazers' family member, the Glazers is the family that owns the Tampa Bay Bucks that he used to work for. In these emails, he was saying that one of the Glazers boys could suck his dick. So that was, I believe, the homophobic slur that they were referring to from what I'm reading here. And then also there was some mention in regards to both him, they said, not being on board with the kneeling. No quotes have came out about that, but it's in the emails, according to the New York Times.
He made mention to, I'm just filling in some of the gap that I've heard from other news reports. So forgive me, Alan. He talked about Eric Reed should be removed from the NFL. Eric Reed, who is the friend of Colin Kaepernick, the safety. Yes.
Right. And then also he did also make mention of female referees being, implemented into the league. We also don't have quotes for that for the email. So, there is some context missing, but he pretty much, as TJ said, he hit the whole bingo board. So what happened is, as soon as the report came out of the New York Times, when more of this information came out, he immediately went down to speak with the owner of the Raiders, who literally had been recruiting him to be the coach, to come back and coach for 10 years, and let him know that, he'll no longer be coaching the team. So they accepted his resignation. So, it's been big news in the sports world, just because of kind of how fast it happened. A Friday through a Sunday in football is an extremely long time, but the news cycle only goes from Friday to Monday. So we had to start and finish by the time Monday came around with this story. So, I'll kick it around the horn to you guys. Let us know what you think, and then prior to me chiming in.
Yeah, I do want to read off his statement. He said, pertaining to the racial comments that he made about the NFL, I believe the NFL PA gentleman. He said, "I was upset. I used a horrible way of explaining it. I don't think he's dumb. I don't think he's a liar. I don't have a racial bone in my body." That's that red flag, or that it was trending on when people say I don't have a racial bone in my body. That's a red flag. And he said, and I've proven that for 58 years. Well, John, okay, here's my thing, my issue. And this is what we talked about, Groupthink, right? When it came out, I believe it came out on Friday. Was it, Alan? It came out on Friday.
Yes. Yep.
That Jon Gruden said some racist stuff. And guess what? Everybody said, meh. Everyone's like, nah. He was able to say apologize and was like, oh, okay, I'm straight on it. Okay. The owner, Mark Davis, knew about it. Everybody knew about it, right? Then they sent Mark Davis, and I know this because these are reports that I've read. Then they sent Mark Davis, people from the NFL, they sent him some more stuff. It was like, hey, Sugarfoot, more of this shit is gonna come out in these emails. And he was like, they were like, oh, okay. And then they realized what else was said, right? So my thing is, and this goes back to the Dave Chappelle point, when Jon Gruden was accused of saying racist stuff, Jon Gruden was still allowed to coach on Sunday. That wasn't enough for him to be terminated. In fact, our boy Stephen A. Smith on ESPN said, he shouldn't lose his job because he said something 10 years ago. Because there's always, in this system of white supremacy, there's always an excuse for racism, right? We understand that suspected white supremacists or white supremacists, they don't get fired. They're able to either resign or they get transferred. We see this in the with law enforcement, and we also see this in white corporate America. It's rare that someone is actually fired and held accountable, right? And in this case, Jon Gruden still was not terminated for his racist remarks and his racist trope when it comes to calling the NFLPA, talking about he's got lips the size of Michelin tires, which is basically, a stereotype of black people that, all black people have big lips and all that other good stuff. Don't worry because you're jealous of our big, luscious lips. That goes without saying, all right? But that wasn't enough. But when he was accused of saying sexist remarks, when he was accused, and sexist remarks pertaining to mainly white women, because I believe there's only white women who are NFL referees at this point, at this juncture. And forgive me if I'm wrong, right? And that's Jon Gruden shaking hands. Now imagine that. You believe that just shows you someone could sit there and shake your hand and smile in your face, but still not want you in the position that you're in, right? That's politics 101. I can't stand the fact that she calling this game because I think that she is lesser than a man to call the NFL an NFL game, right? And then when he came out and he also said that the St. Louis Rams at the time, St. Louis Rams head coach Jeff Fisher was pressured. I don't know if y'all remember Michael Sam, who was the first gay player to be drafted. He was the SEC co-defensive player. He was drafted by the St. Louis Rams.
Right.
And he also said that Jeff Fisher was required or pressured to draft Michael Sam, and he referred to him as a queer, right? In the emails, right? Mm-hmm. So once that was coming out, it was like, oh no, he no longer can be in the NFL because the NFL has all these campaigns. Hey, end racism, stop hate, all this other stuff. And you have a franchise that just moved to Las Vegas with a very diverse fan base. Like you can find Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders, LA Raider fans all over. Like they're one of those fan bases that travel no matter where they play, right? Even and just to give some context, they played in LA against the San Diego Chargers, and the San Diego Chargers felt like they were in a home game, we're in an away game because there were so many Las Vegas Raider fans, right? So this just shows the Jon Gruden situation just shows you the privilege, right? And even then, right, he was still allowed to resign from his position, not be terminated. He was still allowed to resign as an NFL head coach and basically scurry off into the darkness and just let it all play out in the media. The one thing I got to say is this was exactly what Colin Kaepernick was talking about. When Colin Kaepernick talked about being blackballed in the NFL, he talked about how he alleged that there were NFL owners and correspondents, look, I want y'all, even though we're talking about NFL, this happens all throughout white corporate America, where there are email correspondence, secret group chats, secret meetings, right? Because we all understand politics is mastering the meeting before the meeting, right? And basically, decisions are made with you. That's why your reputation is so important, because a lot of decisions about you and your career are made where you're not even in the room, right? So these people are sitting there whispering, talking about these players and making racist jokes and sexist jokes back and forth in an email. Who the hell sends these type of things in an email? I don't even like talking to people via text message anymore. Like all that is some sort of court document transcript. Like, all I wanted to talk about in text messages, who, what, where, when, and where. If not, just call me, right? So he's sending this out. You don't send these type of emails if the recipient isn't talking the same type of language you are. If I was to send an email that was that inappropriate, right? You would have, so somebody would be like, yo, TJ, what the fuck are you doing? Yo, don't send me this shit. Not on mine. Giovanni, right. You work in media. If I sent you an email like, damn, Giovanni, damn, these white folks, blah, 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 you'd be like,
No, yeah, I was going to ask, like, who was the recipient? Because they must be buddy racist friends.
It was it was a former executive for the Washington football team. That's why they're doing his name was Bruce Allen. They're doing an investigation. And so they have over 600,000 emails. Yeah.
Because that's too comfortable. You're too comfortable at that point.
Over 10, yes. So my thing is this: what they should release all of them, release the whole thing, let everybody see it. I think it should be transparency, just like when you are emailing.
They're not going to.
Yeah, they're not going to let, because guess what? There are more. This is just the tip of the iceberg, because this is just, it gives you an idea of how things are being discussed, particularly about Black players. And players, and the NFL can have a plantation like mentality in their structure, right? When it comes to the ownership, that's been its criticism, right? I don't know. I wanted to remind y'all. Do y'all remember the story about Donald Sterling?
Yeah.
Donald Sterling used to be the former owner of the LA Clippers, and he was caught on tape by his mistress, who was Black, V. Stiviano. And he was talking about the players and kind of admonishing her for being around Black people and Black players and talking about Magic Johnson and stuff. And then NBA had to get him out of the paint and ban him for life from even owning the team, right? Yep. I bring that up to say this is just a microcosm of how they are talking. I want people who are watching us or listening to us, a microcosm of what is being said. This is what a system of white supremacy is about. Those opportunities, those bank loans, those things that you don't get, and you think, man, I had all the qualifications. Man, I was doing a good job. I played by the rules. I was able to do everything in my power to do, that I needed to do to represent myself. But yet still behind the closed doors, I never got the opportunity. I was passed up. Some other person got it. This is what that looks like. And so I'm interested to see, and I'm gonna turn it over to y'all. I'm interested to see how far down the rabbit hole they are willing to go before they cover this all up, because they're gonna be like, oh, wait a minute. We let you have Jon Gruden because it was so egregious. And trust me, somebody wanted to get Jon Gruden out of the paint where it was a grudge against Gruden, because for there to be 600 some emails and for him to be singled out, that is mastering politics, mastering the meeting before the meeting. He pissed somebody off where somebody was like, okay, we got to get you out of here. Because Jon Gruden was on a 10-year.
It was the weakest link. Gotta go.
Correct. He was on a 10-year, I believe, $100 million contract, right? With the Las Vegas Raiders. Jon Gruden had to resign and walk away from $60 million. You don't walk away and resign. First of all, if it was me, you would have to come get me. Like you had to fire me. For you to walk away,
throw down in the streets.
Yeah, for me to walk away, I don't care what I said. All right, like Jon Gruden said everything except I don't like babies and children. Like you would have had to come to my office and drag me out for me to say I'm resigning and walking away from 60 million of them M's. I'm sorry, right? So in order for him to do that, he knew he had gotten got. What's crazy about this situation is, right, if Jon Gruden had resigned on Friday when the racist stuff came out, the other homophobic, misogynistic, all that other stuff would have been hidden. That would have never came out. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But because it wasn't enough, I think so. Because it wasn't a reason. They had to turn the heat up on the dial in order to get Mark Davis to be like, hey, John, all this other stuff gonna come out. John was like, okay, I got to tap out. I'm out of here. My question to you is this.
And he could be trying to save his family. I'm pretty sure the union, they say they're gonna protect him. He's not gonna have to want for anything. And I'm pretty sure that he did the best thing for him and his family.
Correct. And here's the thing. Yo, shout out to Noble. Love the haircut, man. I love it.
Thanks, y'all.
So Noble cut. Just we venturing off. I always gotta address the king when I see the king. I like the haircut. So I'm growing my hair out, and Noble cut his.
Yeah.
I like it though. I like it. It's fresh and clean, Noble. But yo, this just shows. So here's my thing. My question to y'all is: do you think, after all of that is said, do you think that Jon Gruden in college or NFL will get another opportunity to coach?
Personally, go ahead, Giovanni.
I was just getting ready to say probably college.
Yep.
League.
What do you think? Because if Jon Gruden, here's my thing, my thought. If Jon Gruden wants to coach somewhere in the Deep South, a Georgia or one of these big programs where their fan base don't really care about what they care more about winning than they care about what was actually said, because you got to think. Now, I will say this. There is something that I don't agree with that happened. I don't agree with some of I wouldn't call it overreaction. I don't agree with the precedent or the hypocrisy of removing him from the Tampa Bay Bucks Ring of Honor, right? So they're removing his name from the stadium as one of the honorable players, right? And the reason I don't, and I know there's a lot of white supremacists that made the comparison where it's like
they're so fake.
Yeah, it's to me it's disingenuous. And even Madden's removing him as a coach. Like any form of Jon Gruden in the game, they're removing his name, they're removing him as a coach in a digital game. Like they're just erasing. Like that to me is different than a statue that is honoring white supremacists or a school of black kids going to a middle school named Robert E. Lee. Right? That's different, right? Because we got all sorts of folks in the NFL. You see what I'm saying? And if we go down this slippery slope, I want to see how far they're going to unravel or remove the veil from the eyes of. I want to see some of these other executives and these other head coaches' emails. What are they saying about some of these players and some of the PA officials? And how do they really feel about Colin Kaepernick? So maybe there needs to be an investigation on everybody. I don't just want Jon Gruden. Like, I don't want a scapegoat, because that's like that Trumpism, right? Where liberals like to say, oh my goodness, Trump is so awful. I can't believe he's saying all these outlandish things on Twitter. So if we just vote Trump out, racism will just be solved. No. It's a system of white supremacy, not just focusing on the one person who subscribes to the religion of it. And I'll leave the floor to y'all.
I mean, I don't think Jon is going to even have the desire to coach again, to be honest. Like, Jon wasn't the person who, like, it took him.
That $60 million back, bro.
No,
I'll coach somebody.
Well, he's not getting 60. He's not getting 60 million from nobody. But he's definitely. It took them 10 years and $100 million to convince him to come back to coaching. Like, he was literally being offered coaching jobs by multiple teams every single year while he was doing Monday Night Football. He just didn't want to do this shit. And so it was really only his relationship with Al Davis and that organization that got him back into it. And of course that he was already familiar with it. So I don't think he has any desire. I mean, he's not going to have any desire to coach again. I mean, in regards to the whole situation, I felt like when you were saying, I don't think anyone with if your chess move is to first leak the racist story before everything else to try to get someone fired, I don't think anyone who's playing that type of chess move, that type of chess game, thinks that the Michelin lip statement is going to get him fired. I just don't. It's not enough. It's not enough. The time that lapse was so far. Obviously, as Black people, the whole, the lips is and making fun of the lips is rooted in white supremacy and and just making and caricatures of our features that we've seen over the years, obviously. So anytime someone mentions our lips in any sort of joking manner that is not of our community, though of course we do it, we do take that a little bit harsh. But at the same time, do I think that is very possible for him to say that in banter and not have racial epithets like consciously? Absolutely. I mean, I don't necessarily. I'm not gonna just throw that. I'm just not gonna throw that on him as being a racist. So that's why, like, when I see headlines, because I know a lot more blatant racism that doesn't get called racism, like this was being called racism, I felt like they were trying to trigger me. So that's why when we were talking earlier, I'm like, I need to see the quotes for all of these, because I thought he had really went over the deep end, to be honest with you. And no, what he said wasn't cool. And yes, like I said, those type of jokes are rooted in black caricatures and racism, but it just didn't hit me as hard as I think the media wanted to hit me after knowing the details. Now, I think once you start saying faggot, once you start saying queer, once you start saying, I'm assuming probably tranny with Caitlyn Jenner, those are like the words, like those are the words. Like, so if you wanted to get rid of somebody, that's the first route that you go to. And obviously, it piles up. You in the beginning of the season, there's really kind of no way to get around all of that. Like all of it, because at that point you're just offending too many people within the spectrum that you have to work with every single day that you'll have to answer to.
Well, I think that's what, even with I think even in politics, first they're going to shame you, right? Yeah. They'll release a little photo that's not that bad. It's like a negotiation. It's like, all right, we want to see how much we can make you move. We got more heat. You're never going to put out the heat that you have first. So you'll put out something real soft and then be like, all right, you gonna move? And when that person digs in their heels and be like, nah, I ain't gonna move. Then you hit them with the whammy wham, and that was it. So and basically they could not keep him or retain him, because everything he said, basically, like we said, he let the chopper spray and offended everybody except babies. Like they couldn't keep him because it would further show some of the hypocrisy that people have been critical of the NFL thus far when it comes to these campaigns. And you can't end racism and stop hate, and you have a coach who's coaching black. You got to think the league is majority black players, and Carl Nassib is the first openly gay player who plays on the Las Vegas Raiders.
Right.
So you can't rock with that.
And the thing is too, but ironically enough, first off, ironically enough, it's just going to expose more hypocrisy, because we know what do they call it? Boys locker room talk. And what you guys were saying earlier, you're not going to be corresponding with anybody who generally doesn't correspond with you like that. Like, you know who to play with. So these are conversations that are happening. So to me, it makes the NFL look worse if within the next 2 months, we don't have a list of people who's been talking about and doing similar things, because that now, you can't make Jon Gruden an example. He's not on this island alone. And also, quick note, I did think it was a little bit ironic that somebody that doesn't have lips is always talking about somebody having lips, because Jon Gruden doesn't have any lips. I don't know if you guys have seen. Google Jon Gruden. He has no lips.
Hold on. I was
doing the same thing. I was like, dude, what?
Oh, he's
no
jealous.
lip. It just goes. It's just a face with a hole. Pause. It's no the lip's supposed to be the intermission. It's just no intermission. It just
it's straight line.
Right. It is line.
All right. So here's my question to y'all, right? Because I'm letting y'all know right now. Anybody do an investigation into my DMs from over 10 years ago, they're gonna pull the plug on this whole damn thing. This whole channel. Like, could you imagine somebody going into your DMs and release it? We just obtained Alan York's DMs from 10 years ago. We have 6,000 messages from his MySpace to the Facebook to Instagram. I done said some really thirsty things in my DMs before, so I'm hoping that nobody has, I'm a changed man. I'm in a relationship. So I hope nobody releases these DMs.
That would make me
my thirsty days. What about you, Jay?
Yeah,
No, I was just thinking that I think that's another reason why he was like, you know what, I'm just gonna resign because I'm not even that person. And I'm not, maybe he was like, I'm not about to be hard down arguing with y'all about my racist comments 10 years ago.
Right. And I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, sometimes
would y'all be good are y'all secure? Like if that's where we go in society where they're like, look, everything is now public record. We're gonna start releasing everybody's DM.
I'm gonna beat them to the punch.
Nah, I mean,
I know,
Nah,
I done said some things.
Yeah, no. Y'all could do my emails. I'm cool. My tweets.
Emails, I'm good.
Emails, I'm cool.
Definitely can't my emails.
I've been really? No emails either, Jay?
Yeah. I mean, I've done said some things on Twitter, but if we're gonna get to the DMs, that's why I'm gonna have to draw the line.
Yeah, that's it.
What do y'all say?
Resignation?
Listen, y'all were gonna have to I would have to switch my genre to R&B. They're gonna be like, look at this begging ass fool. Like I get real Carl Thomas in the DMs. Like I'm very Gerald Levert. I am a certified lover boy. So please, I don't need and sometimes I just be. All right, I'm gonna let y'all. Sometimes I could be speaking to myself too. And sometimes you don't know because you just be responding, and then you look up one day and they ain't even really respond to your last 4 messages. So now you just in the DMs and
by yourself. You
just by yourself. Right. And I'll be like, I'm too sexy for that. Let me unsend these. Listen. I can unsend a DM.
Hey, I'm not a brother. If you delete a DM on your Instagram, does it also delete the DM for the other person? If it was a mutual conversation?
If you click on the specific message and unsend, then yes. But if you just delete the history, then no, it'll stay.
No, if you delete it.
Also, if you delete the history, it'll only delete on your end, but they'll still have the messages on their end.
Right. You can't delete both of y'all history.
But I thought the messages don't delete if they seen it. If they seen it already, you can't delete it. It just deletes it from your thread.
Nope. Both, because I've done I've been in the middle of a voice note. Yeah. Someone will send me a voice note on accident or something, and I'll see them unsend it. They're like, my bad, I didn't mean to send that. And it deletes for both of us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's Instagram. I'm talking Facebook. Facebook is not like that. Facebook.
I don't know nothing about no Facebook.
No. I know about because I'm not in the Instagram DMs like that. I'll send you one of those pictures that blow up after you look at it one time. But but on Facebook, if you delete the thread, they can still have it. If you delete the comment, you could delete the comment in your thread, but they still have a record of it.
Oh, that's nasty.
Same thing with Instagram.
Oh, okay. But I've unsent things and Instagram. I know what you're talking about. Instagram. Oh, trust me, I done did some maintenance. Unsend.
Oh yeah. You'll never see that.
Unsend. Yeah.
Yeah, but you got to unsend it. But if you delete the entire thread, they still have a copy of it. Listen, I'm just going. Y'all gonna see me in my cardigan. Listen, some of the things that I have said in the past are not a reflection of my current views. I've found God. I've read books.
Right. I don't even be feeling like that no more. You know what I'm saying?
Every dude's, but you know what? I don't think I've ever done, and I want to say ever. I've never been the dude that when a girl, when you respond to a girl, I've done the thread where you thirsty and you just see yourself talking to yourself, but I've never been the guy that be like, all right, bitch, you don't want to say nothing to me? Oh, you ugly anyway. Fuck you. I've never been that guy. Yeah. Unless you say something flagrant, if you say something flagrant to me, then I'd be like, I'm good for just deleting you and never, and count my losses.
I'll just be like, all right.
That aggressive guy. But I know there's a lot of dudes that's out there that if their DMs were released, and I've never can't say that.
Yeah. I might look like an R&B singer, but I'm not cursing nobody out though.
No.
No, I'm not. But I will.
Nah. I might have played show and tell, but I've always gotten consent.
I don't think you'll really get penalized for that.
No, as long as it's mutual. So I'm just letting y'all know, hey, there's somebody who must have deleted something because it ain't unsolicited. I don't do the the unsolicited joints.
Well, can we take it to the altar before we wrap it up?
Oh yeah,
yes,
please
take it to the altar.
Let's go to the altar,
Please.
Let's take it there because we need healing right now. We talking to all these, being the heathens that we are. Please take us there. Take us there, Jay.
Okay. All right. So, hold on 1 second.
Noble need a little healing too.
Yeah, a little healing.
Yes.
You know that mama in church, what she said?
Naruto. Y'all know
that's Dragon Ball Z, right?
Nah, it's an anime.
It's kind of look like Dragon Ball Z, I guess, but it's Naruto.
They got some fire. They got some fire shirts. I see them all the time. I don't know the characters yet.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, so we are at the altar. Thank you, Lord, for bringing us to the altar.
Yes.
And so before we end, I really just wanted to pose this question to you all. I feel like in October that there has been like this push-pull season with a lot of people. Like, okay, I want to be pulled up, but at the same time, it's certain things that's pushing me back or pushing me down. Mm-hmm. And then there's also this, I feel as if I'm working as hard as I can, but I don't necessarily know what the next step is to determine if that's considered hard work, or am I working hard and now is the time where I need to just work smart. You know how people say work smarter than it is to work harder. Correct. But when you don't really know, when you don't really have the process or you don't have the tools or the connection, even working smart is hard because you got to figure out what is the smart work, Mm-hmm. So I was just thinking, have you all been feeling like October? Is it a push, pull, fall off, cut down some trees type season for you all, or what's kind of going on?
You want to go first, eh?
Nah, you go first. You got it.
Okay. So I think for me, with the things that are going on in my life, both seen and unseen, I think it's really pruning season, right? So it's like any garden, you got to prune off the weeds and, make sure that there's not, the thorns and all those things, and make sure that your flowers and your ecosystem is put together. And so I think more so now, I think with me just having a birthday and the, things that's going on in my life, like you start looking around. I think it's more so because of holiday season is approaching. People get more introspective into thinking like, wait a minute, who's for me? Who ain't for me? Is this relation? Like, for instance, I always thought that October 31st was the cutoff for new relationships, right? So everybody talks about cuffing season after Labor Day, like on October 31st, because you got to think, Halloween, if you don't make it to Halloween and y'all not dressing alike and doing all that stuff, the relationship probably ain't going nowhere because you're not going to take somebody you're not really feeling into the holiday season. You ain't taking them into Thanksgiving. You're not taking them into Christmas, and you can't break up with them on first of the new year. So you got to wait till, if you don't break up with them by October 31st, you can't break up with them realistically until February 15th. Because it's just like there's no wiggle room to break up with somebody unless you're just a cold, heartless some person.
That'd be me.
Yeah,
right. I was about to say you better than a lot of people.
Right on your birthday, see.
You can't break up with nobody during the holiday season. But back to the around this time, people get introspective. The weather changes. People start looking and start realizing like, wait a minute, the year's almost over. What have I accomplished? They start doing a diagnostic of their life. And I think it's appropriate for people to do. But I also think I'm always good for checking your team and making sure that the people that you have around you are really being positive contributors. And sometimes you gotta cut bait. And I think that's what people are, towards the end of the year, people are looking at like, man, I wanted to accomplish so much. Right? Or I did accomplish so much. Who was there clapping for me? Who was there like looking at me like, damn, man, you really made it? Which is basically them telling you that they didn't really think you was going to make it. Who actually supported you and who was there making your life harder? And so I think around this time, people want to place individuals around them who are going to bring harmony and support to their ecosystem and not bring drama and strife to it. So I think this is the season where people do it. Really, it starts in the month of, October in the fall, and then it gets closer as the season gets closer to November. And that's why a lot of times, statistics shows that during the holiday season, specifically in December, there's a lot of the suicide rates increase, because people are starting to look and people start feeling alone. They start looking at, well, I'm not where I want to be financially, or I'm not where I want to be in my career, or I'm not, life has been, the year has been extremely tough with pandemics and COVID and all sorts of different things. So, people start checking inventory on who's for them. And then they also start planning out what's going on, what's going to happen to them for the new year. And they don't want to start dealing with people who ain't really for them. And I think it's a hard pill to swallow, to look yourself in the mirror and realize you could have done better. But it's also a very hard thing to do, to look and be like, look at the people around you. And even if it's the people that you love, and evaluate them and be like, yeah, this next season, you can't really be around me. It's not about beef. We ain't got no words. It's just, you got to prune some people out of your life in order for God to put new people in there that's going to help elevate you. And I think that's hard for us to do because we want to hold on to people for so long. But I've learned that if you hold on to people too tight and hold on to people past the season that they're supposed to be there, God will then in turn deal with you, and then you will backslide because you're telling him you ain't ready and you don't trust him. So that's just my that's really my thoughts on that. But I think it's healthy. It's healthy to set boundaries, and it's also healthy to let people go. And you know how people say, what would you tell your younger self? Like if I could tell, I'm 35, if I could tell my TJ at Valencia, Alan, right? If I could tell me at Valencia, it would be to let shit go. And even right now, as an adult, it's hard for me to let shit go, whether people don't believe in me, whether people slight me, or whether people have doubted me. It's hard for me to let things go. But I try to use it as fuel for my next ventures or my next successes, and not really dwell on it where I have this negative weight or this chip on my shoulder where I'm producing out of anger rather than, focusing on the people who, instead of trying to prove people wrong, I think I'm at the point in my life where it's like, nah, I'm out here trying to prove the people that believed in me right.
Yeah. I think my push-pull is it's just kind of weird starting to see 2022 on things, upcoming dates, upcoming concerts, anything upcoming that says 2022 is kind of like blowing mine. So for me is finding that balance between making sure I end the year off strong as well as prepare for the next year, and kind of creating a game plan for 2022. But like I said, making sure I'm not necessarily wasting the last couple of months as well, because it's easy for all of us to be like, damn, this year's over. Like it's over. You still got, we got like 75 more days to make something shake. So I think that's probably the push pull that I've had within the last couple of weeks or so. What about you, Giovanni?
Yeah, my push pull is definitely a lot of the things that TJ talked about. Just trying to figure out, not necessarily. Well, actually, I agree with the whole part. Like, I'm not even really trying to figure out who's with me or not with me right now. I'm just like, Giovanni, do what you need to do and figure all that out. Like, whatever you accomplish in your life is gonna be for you. Whenever you get there, it's gonna be waiting for you. But the pull has been, okay, well, how do I know if this is something that I need to let go? Because like, I'm just saying, say for instance, you want to sell your car because you need money, but at the same time, now you got to catch Uber and a bus all the time. So it's just kind of like, how do I know that something that I feel like I should do to benefit me, but it's also going to create a dent in my life? What do I do? And so I really have just kind of been. What were you saying?
No. Go ahead. I'll let you finish your thought, and then I'll chime in.
But no, I really so when I start to feel overwhelmed or whatever, I wrote these 3 things down that I feel like I have been doing to keep me just stay afloat. So these are tips from Just Giovanni. But so positive reinforcement, basically, of course, start speaking what you desire over your life. So this is the craziest thing. Like today, today I was like, I woke up kind of on the wrong side of the bed. Like, God, really, I need some more money to drop into my bank account, or I need to figure out what I'm gonna do with my life and my career and things like that. And while I could have let that take a toll over me, instead I just started to speak back to it like, I am a money magnet. Anything that's promised to me will become a part of my life. Those are not real thoughts. I am a producer. I am, an entertainer, a reporter, and all those type of good things. And then boom, next thing I know, I called my bank and they like, yeah, you got some pending finances that's supposed to be dropping tonight. And it was just kind of like, I felt like I spoke those things into existence, whether it was going to happen or not. But I know that I had spoke what I needed to say at the start of my day, and it at least allowed me to get through the day. So that was one. The second one is, now I'm starting to chunk my work together. So instead of thinking like, oh my gosh, for this month, I need to go live and I need to make sure that I have 15 lives. I'm just like, okay, day 1, if I post, I'm going to try to post. I'm going to try to do IG live, and maybe I'll do a reel. That's it. I'm not going to try to do 3 posts or 15 posts a day, because I know that is not realistic for my lifestyle right now.
Yeah.
So instead, now I'm just kind of like chunking things, like dividing it together. Like, okay, well, I know that I have to go to work for 8 hours. So I don't have time for social media during that time. But if I do, I will, wiggle it in there. But at the end of the day, I need to focus on my job, because that's where I'm getting my check. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the third one is, of course, at least for me, is pray. And I want to start chanting. I was doing guided meditations, but I was listening to this one podcast, and I can't remember the name of it. I just started listening to it, but they were talking about chanting and chanting in different languages. So I'm thinking I'm going to start looking into chanting. And
what are the benefits of chanting? Like, what is is it chanting? What exactly?
So you'll be okay. So have you ever done like meditation, and you're like, a person is just kind of like, listen to your heart and your mind and relax. Chanting is the same thing, except you're repeating something multiple times for a certain time frame, and it is supposed to literally like alter your mindset, alter your brain. And a lot of famous people do it. A lot of famous people, that's in it. It does something. Like, it really does. It does something. But the woman was saying that the reason why they do it in different languages doesn't necessarily mean like they're practicing some evil spirit. It's just that your mind is so familiar with your voice in English that if you decide to chant, I am a warrior, I am a warrior, I'm a warrior, your mind is going to say, no, you're not. No, you're not. And so they say do it in another language, because your mind is not familiar with that language. So if you're saying your mind is like, shit, I don't know what you're saying, but go ahead and keep saying that. And so that's something that I think I'm gonna do some research on and look into it, just kind of that chant and the rhythm, and just see if it works. But that's my, I could go on, but I know it's kind of time to go. But yeah, the October has been like a real, I'm not gonna let you be fake on Tuesday and be real and think that you're being real with me on Monday, and you think I'm gonna respond to you.
It's just that's like, a word. I'm just a word right there in my life.
Yeah,
I don't do well with fake.
No, I don't do well with it, and anybody who knows me know that I don't do well with it. And you can have all these nice gestures that you want to, but I know, if I know, it is what it is. I'm not going to continue that trend of we both being fake. Like, it's just like, for what? It's not that deep. It's never that deep.
Well, one thing I wanted to say is that you asked about how do you know, and I know what works for me. right? Anytime I make a decision and there's peace in it, that means there's God in it, because God is not a God of confusion. So if I make a decision, and I tried, like, even decision, like we talked about letting go, right? A lot of things that are going on in my life now, whether it's, you know, different things that I'm accomplishing, whatever, or goals that I had to be manifested. Like, you had to. I was before I became, right? You know, I was before I was homeless, before I was, you know, like, I used to tell people certain things, like, you know, one of the reasons why we created the Soapboxx is because I felt like who I was back then, like, nobody was going to try to market around, you know, me, or give me a platform or give me a voice. So I said, look, I'm not going to beg nobody. I'm going to actually just build my own and recruit a team around me that can help not only elevate me, but I could learn from, and, you know, we enhance in each other. And so I take that approach in life. You know, recently, and you know this, I had to make a decision to let some people go, or to disassociate myself, right? It's not something that I really wanted to do, right? But it was something that I knew I had peace in, because sometimes you have to take a step back in order to take a step forward. And I think when you have a peace in it, and you're willing to do, and you believe in a higher power, whether that's God or whatever you believe in, when you have peace in something, and you're able to give up something good for something great and trust God, then that's when you know that you're in line with him, or you could hear his voice, and things will start happening, because he's like, oh, okay, I can trust you. So the more you do these difficult things, and you do so cheerfully, even though you're trusting him, then he's going to be like, all right, I'm going to give you more of what I already promised you. And I think for me, in this stage of my life, a lot of things that I have asked for, the desires that I have in my heart, it's like I have been in a space where it's like you have to believe God's word. So even if the decision is tough, to cut people off, or to let go of certain opportunities, or to not take certain opportunities that you think, man, this is great, I can, you know, instant gratification or whatever. Yeah, when you get that, when you understand, like, when you have peace in it, then you know you're doing the right thing, and you don't always understand it right now. There are decisions that I made, I would say probably 4 or 5 years ago, that I'm now seeing the fruits of those decisions of trusting, that I'm like, damn, I had no idea that, you know, if I had did it my way, then I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. So, and I'm thankful for that. You know?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Well, yeah, you all, that wraps up the Take It to the Altar Thursday. So I hope that we are able to, the Soapboxx Nation, everyone listening, that you're able to, you know, finish the session with more peace before you go to bed or start your day. Whatever time you're listening to this, we always want to send you off with peace.
Indeed, absolutely. Real quick, we want to make sure that everybody, I know we wanted to talk about, before we wrap, I definitely wanted to touch on some things of what you should be watching, or what we are watching. I don't know. Speaking of like peace and joy, I don't know if y'all have been watching, but one of my new favorite shows is The Wonder Years. Have y'all been watching The Wonder Years on ABC? I watch it on Hulu. I definitely wanted to give a big shout out to the show. It comes on at Wednesdays at 8:30. I know we're not sponsored by ABC yet, but this goes back to that manifestation. It's coming. Like TD Jake said, get ready. But yo, it's a dope show. It's about a black family in 1968, height of the civil rights movement. And I have not seen, there's been 3 episodes. I got to watch the 4th episode tonight. I have not seen any sort of negativity, any sort of stereotype. It's a black father and mother with 3 kids. One kid is in the Vietnam War. Black kid who looks like young Allen with the fro and the glasses is going through life as a 12-year-old, trying to figure things out. The young woman is going through womanhood, and she's conflicted with the civil rights movement of nonviolence, and whether she's going to be, radicalized. They're joining the Panthers and stuff. So it is the Wonder Years. If y'all remember the show from back in the day with the Fred Savage and Winnie Cooper and all that stuff, I used to love that show. It's from the Black perspective. It's a dope show that everybody should watch, and it's a family show. Like, you should watch it with your kids, and we got to support it because it's on a major network. And I've seen nothing but Black positivity and Black excellence in the show. So I don't know who the writers are. I'm gonna go research it, but it's really a dope show, and it's funny, and the writing is superb. And the Black family, mother and father, are graduates from an HBCU, so they really hit on a lot of things that we've wanted in Black positivity that we used to get back in the day with the Cosby Show and Living Singles and all these other Martin and My Wife and Kids and all these Jamie Foxx show, Wayne's Brothers. So if we support this show, who knows what happens in these type of situations? They'll try to start duplicating it. So we'll get this instead of getting shows like Love and Hip Hop and Empire. So we need to support this type of show. So make sure you check out Wonder Years. Alan, have you seen it yet?
I have. Honestly, it's amazing. The show is amazing. And I was a big Originals Wonder Years fan, but it's been a while since I've seen it. But the thing is, if you haven't watched the original Wonder Years, you don't need to, does it? But it's like, I think the way that even the first episode, the way that they were like so intentional on hitting like these Black traditions and Black household, like it was so much if you know moments. I thought it was wonderful. It was like a roadmap. It's like they hit everything on the head. So I got through. I think I only have like one more episode, but they're only on episode 4 right now. So it comes out every week. It's an amazing show. I definitely recommend everybody go out there and watch it for sure.
Yeah, I haven't seen the new episode that just came out because it comes out on Wednesday. So I usually watch it on Thursdays, right? So make sure that you go and watch the Wonder Years. And also, I don't know if y'all seen this show. It's a Netflix series. Everybody's been talking about it. I watched it. Have y'all seen Squid Games?
Absolutely.
Games? Yo, I watched it. I'm not gonna give any spoilers. Jay, you haven't seen it yet?
No, I haven't. But Noble told my mom he wants her to be a Squid Game.
Yeah. Oh no.
My nephew wants to be Squid Game for Halloween as well. He watched it too. They actually, my nieces, my nephew, they put me onto it. Yeah, it's fun. It's a dope show. It's kind of, I think it's about 2 or 3 episodes too long. I mean, some of these Netflix, they be trying to stretch it, just like the show Clickbait. Clickbait should have been 5 episodes, but they stretch it out to like 9.
So good.
Yeah, I didn't like the last episode, but these are things that people are trending and watching. We want to make sure that people on Soapboxx Podcast and the Soapboxx Nation that y'all check it out. So let us know what you feel about Squid Game. Definitely support the Wonder Years. And before we go, y'all know we do it every week. Let's hit it with the moral of the story. I'm gonna go ahead and start with Just Giovanni. Just Giovanni, ladies first. What is your moral of the story?
Ooh, so the moral of the story, we had a lot of good stories today, y'all. I think the moral of the story today would be don't take it personal. And I say that because we had the story of Dave Chappelle and the LGBTQ community, and then the NFL coach John, and then we talked about cutting people off, we wouldn't even say cutting people off, because I truly believe that God is still going to orchestrate who was going to be cut out of your life, but I'll just say making space for more people. So I would just say whatever it is that you're going through, whether it be changing certain things, or if somebody said something that offended you, don't take it personal, because a lot of times it is about what a person is trying to do in their life and not necessarily about you, or vice versa. So don't take it personal. Oh, and also, of course, follow me on Instagram at Just Giovanni. Catch my lives whenever I do them, and if you also at Just Doing Her Official if you're into any products that says Just Doing Her.
Jay, we got to do another Instagram live like we did for Malcolm and Marie. I actually really like that.
Oh yeah, we do. I agree. Yeah, we do.
We got to do another. You let me know the topic. We can talk about, whether it's relationships or holiday season or mental health or suicide or whatever. But we got to do something. Alan York, what's your moral of the story? Appreciate you, Jake. What's your moral of the story, sir?
Hey, more of the story is that it's never too late to start. If you wanted to hit some goals in the beginning of October and you haven't gotten there yet, well, guess what? Tomorrow's the 15th, halfway point. See what you can do within these next 2 weeks. If you have some yearly goals that you haven't hit yet, you still got 75 days in a year. 75 days sounds like a really long time. If you're waiting for anything else, you're waiting for a concert, you're looking for a movie. So take that long time mentality and implement it within the next 75 days. So it's never too late to start. It's never too late to finish. So that's the moral of the story for today.
Word. And listen, my moral of the story is simple. Stand on your square, right? So just because people don't believe in what you got to believe, sometimes you can be ahead of the curve. And it's okay to have thought-provoking conversations. It's okay to stand on what you believe in, because as long as you believe you standing on truth, eventually people will catch up to what you got going on, right? We talked about Muhammad Ali when he they called him a draft dodger. Colin Kaepernick stood on his square. People who stand on their square, eventually people will catch up, and then some people come back and apologize to you for the stance that they had about you standing on your square and bleeding. But I will say it's not easy. So when you stand in your square, stay 10 toes to the ground, man. Keep your head up to the sky. Keep your heart to God, as Kanye said, and make sure that you weather the storm, because it's not easy when you stand up or stand on what you believe in. But as long as it's truth, and as long as you believe in what you're saying and what you are doing, everything else will work itself out, and you will have peace, because where there is peace, there is God. So for Giovanni, for Jesse, for Alan York, we are the Soapbox Podcast. Shout out to Soapbox Nation. Oh, one more time. I got to shout out our, Soapbox Nation, and I got to shout out the white supremacists who came out and started making comments on YouTube. YouTube was popping, the comment section. People started realizing they could comment on YouTube, and we got some views. So we appreciate you helping us in our algorithm. Please come back next week. We will have more stuff for you if that's what you want to do. Hate watching still counts on the algorithm, but we also appreciate all of the positivity and the people in our comment sections that follow us and love us and support the Soapbox Podcast for this long. And I appreciate my co-hosts and everybody. So with that being said, for Jesse, for Giovanni, for Alan York, for TJ Legacy, this is the Soapbox Podcast, and we, ladies and gentlemen, are, as they say, out. Peace.
Tell them what we talking about.